Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is having a good Monday morning. I wanted to give you a brief sort of overview of the introduction to English 1101. Basically, sort of an overview of week one and how to work Blackboard since you're pretty much an online course. You're going to find all your work pretty much on your Blackboard course page. Welcome. My name is Mr. Patrick Wilson. I will be your English instructor slash professor for the next 15 weeks. So hopefully you're able to get into your Blackboard course page because again, that's where you're going to find your textbook. That's where you're going to find the modulars, the week in and week out type reading, quizzes, essays, that type stuff that you're going to have to, complete to get a good grade in the class and to be successful in this class. I will say this class is a fast-paced class. Even though we have 15 weeks, we generally have something due every week. So we got something due this Thursday. If you look in your actual modular one page, I will briefly go over that here momentarily. You should be able to see on your screen how the Blackboard page looks. We will run through some things. I'm not going to take up a whole lot of time. I got another class here I got to actually attend to in person about 10 o'clock if you're looking at this in the morning. So I'm going to go through as quickly as I can, just sort of the overview, because I think a lot of it is kind of self-explanatory. If you, use any kind of social media, which everybody's got a phone or some sort of a device, if you can use a social media account, you can use Blackboard and, read and comprehend what you need to do. But obviously you can, email me. My email is on the syllabus. I can show you where that's at here momentarily as we're going to go through the syllabus. I'm not going to read verbatim. It is pretty lengthy. I know you know how to read. I'm not going to insult your intelligence with that, but I will hit the high notes. I will probably send out some tutoring information if you need some in-person or virtual tutoring. Actually, I probably put that on the simple syllabus probably as the week moves on, just to see how my schedule is going to work out because I got 6 classes. Um, 4 of them, I believe, are online, and 2 of them are going to be in person. So I'm going to be fairly busy as well this semester. So the first thing I'm going to show you is really sort of the scroll down. If you click the welcome stingrays, start here, you're going to see some information. Some information is, basically for me, it's going to be hidden on you, but for the stuff that is visible, that's the stuff you want to look at. If you need help navigating Blackboard Ultra, if this is your first time on an online course or using Blackboard, I definitely would click on this particular link and go through the materials. There might be some videos, there might be some documents. There's also student help for Blackboard. Click the down arrow and you will find additional information. You will need to get a lockdown Respondus browser. And you want to click and go through this information to make sure that you're downloading the right one for your particular device. It has a lot of good information, documentary or documents and videos that you want to look at. You really can only download it either for a Chromebook, Windows, or a Mac. You can't download it for like an iPad. It won't work well. It definitely won't work well with any kind of like iPhone or any cell phone. So it has to be a desktop or a laptop. And you will need to download a Respondus lockdown browser before you take any kind of quiz or, like the midterm or final exam. You're going to need to have a lockdown browser. So if you do not have that on your computer, you're not going to be able to complete that exam. So you risk getting a 0 on that particular assignment. Now you can go to the closest Coastal Pines Technical College and use the equipment and the respondus, at the library or at their testing center. But depending on where you live and how close you are to that particular campus, you might want to look to see what their hours of business are. because some campuses may close a little earlier than others. Usually we're Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 6. I'm pretty much on the Camden campus. I do live in Brunswick, so I do have some traveling time each day, but I'm pretty much, 7:30 to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday on the Camden campus. Now we're closed. All campuses are closed for the most part. Definitely Saturday and Sunday, and some campuses may be open on Friday, but they're only open from like 7:30 to noon if they're open. For the most part, they may be closed. So I would definitely check in to make sure that they're open. And you want to give yourself, some of these quizzes and some of these exams will be timed anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. So you want to give yourself enough driving time to get there, enough time to get set up and to be able to take the test and get back home. So if a campus closes at 6 o'clock, I probably wouldn't show up at 5:45 and expect that the person that's in the library is going to let you take that exam or that quiz. So I would say most campuses want you to get there probably before 4:30. So that will give you enough time in case there's any kind of hiccups or anything that they can, kinks they can work out before they close at 6 o'clock. Some other information, textbook, tutoring. Again, I'm going to supply some office hours and some tutoring hours on the actual simple syllabus. It should be up there within before the end of the week. So you might want to go back and kind of look at that if you need some tutoring. Or virtual tutoring. We can do something via Teams like we are doing here. We can meet in the classroom or the library downstairs at the Camden campus if you live close to Camden. It's just sometimes it's hard to do a lot of tutoring via email or over the phone. So it's best that we have something set up either in person or at least in video where we can kind of interact. And again, since I think this group, I have nearly 30 students just in this class, we can set up some time if you want to meet virtually as a class. The problem with that is I think everybody has different schedules and everybody's, working or here or there. So it might be hard to get, all 25 or 28 people online at once. But we could do something small group. I do have classes Monday. I have classes Tuesday and Thursday in person, but generally in the afternoon, I have some free time. When I'm not, devoting that to my other online classes, but there could be something that we can work out and maybe meet, for 15 or 20 minutes, something that, sort of go over maybe particular assignments. We don't necessarily have to, treat our meetings or our tutorings sessions as lecture sessions. I try to give out lecture videos at least once a week or when I can. Again, I'm only one person. And, if all my classes make the semester, I'm going to have over 70 students. So just, bear with me there. I will try to give out videos when I can. But again, we can always set up something by appointment via in-person tutoring or virtual tutoring. So keep that in mind. But we do have other tutoring options. If you click this arrow, we have a particular service called tutor.com, which is really it's helpful, especially if you're taking math. It's good at, reading drafts and that type of stuff. If you're, getting research papers and essays written and drafted out. We have other things here, student success skills you might want to look at. So we do offer other things, on top of in-person and virtual tutoring. I would just say, keep in mind with the tutor.com deal, they only give each student about 10 hours worth of free tutoring time. So once you exhaust that 10 hours, it's probably going to force you or ask you to pay. I'm not really sure how much it is. I'm sure it's not too terribly cheap because it is a tutoring service. Tutor.com, basically caters to a lot of other colleges, not just us. So kind of keep in mind about the time that when you log in to get help. They say they're 24/7. I mean, obviously, I don't think there's going to be anybody there at 3 o'clock in the morning. You could probably upload a paper or drop off a paper. I think in the past, you were able to do that. I think now they really want you to actually talk to a live tutor. And usually those sessions can go anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. I don't think they'll go any more beyond that. So kind of keep that in mind when you get help from them. I wouldn't wait, 3 hours before something is due, because they may be busy with other colleges, especially around midterms and final exam times. All classes have midterms or finals, so they're going to be jammed up and they're going to be busy. Um, I'm not sure how well they work on the weekends. I'm sure there's probably somebody there, but again, kind of keep in mind you might want to get something in between Monday and Thursday since that's our college business hours here. That way you have enough time to sort of read over what they said, ask the questions that you need to ask, and digest really, going through the revision process. Now what I usually try to tell my students is I would send them a rough draft of my essay first. And then when you get that back, revise what you need to revise of it. And then you can send me a Microsoft Word attachment email of that new fresh draft. And that way I can look at it and catch whatever they didn't catch. And then I can send you my feedback and you can revise it there. Generally, you want to go through multiple revision process. That's the writing process here with English 1101, especially college writing. It's different than high school writing. College level is a little bit, obviously it's a step above K through 12. So if you're doing enrollment and you're thinking, well, I just threw something together the night before, or I did it, in class right before it was due, or whatever the case may be, keep in mind that probably is not going to work for you too well here as it relates to your grade. Most folks that just turn in a rough draft as their final draft will get something like a C or lower. They're very lucky if they get a C on that. Usually it's D's and F's. So I like to say I'm a easy B, but I'm a hard A, right? It takes a little bit more work, a little bit more dedication to get an A in my class. Does it mean I make my classes any more difficult than anybody else? No. If you do the work, ask the questions, send multiple drafts, get help, tutoring, whatever the case may be, start your assignments earlier, turn stuff in on time, then you're probably going to be more close on getting that A than most people. B's and C's are a little easier to do. You're just sort of doing the bare minimum. D's and F's are really easy to get, just don't do much. I will tell you this, each 0 that you acquire in this class is going to drop you 20 points. So let's say that everybody starts at 100, you make a 0 on this first assignment, you're down to an 80. You make a 0 on week 2 assignment, you're down to a 60. You make a 0 pretty much, the third or fourth weekend, which we're basically in by that time, about a month, you're at a 40 or lower. If you're at a 40 or lower, you probably want to think about withdrawing from the class at that point because your grade's probably not going to get any better. Because I've done the math. If you get 3 zeros, you need to make at least 15 100s to pull your grade back up to at least a 70 or higher. The problem is we don't have 15 assignments as you move through this, this semester. We probably start off with 15, but if you start collecting 3 or 4 zeros, a month in, you're not going to have a chance to pull it up. So you might as well probably drop in October or September if that was going to be the case. The other thing is, keep in mind, we do have a purge probably coming up next week and possibly the following week. So if you owe the college money, whether it's a penny to, $2,000, if you don't pay that by a certain time, they will drop you from all your classes. So make sure that you get all your financial situations taken care of and all your paperwork before the purge. And usually the first one's this Friday and the next one is the following Friday. So going back to the Blackboard thing here, there's a librarian live chat. That's going to be very good, very helpful when we get into sort of the last month of the semester. That's when we get into our big research paper project that you're going to have to complete. And then we get into basically the modulars or the weekly work. We have 4 modulars that's going to take us through August, pretty much this week all the way through to about the first week of December. Modular 1 is open now. It deals really with the first 3 weeks, which is August 17th through September 3rd. So if you click there, I give you some information on what this is going to entail. We're basically looking at narrative descriptive writing. You're going to have a chance to draft and finalize a narrative descriptive paper for a grade. And if you click on the arrow, this gives you some additional information on Modular 1 readings, e-textbook, and handouts and videos. If you click this, it's going to take you to, you got a couple options. The page numbers refer to your e-textbook, and I can show you where that's at if you wanted additional information. A lot of this stuff is hyperlinked, so if you click on it, it'll take you to like a supplement web page of what's in the textbook. So if you like, I mean, both the textbook and these hyperlinks are going to be online. So some people like to read online. Some folks have a hard time. The problem is, I mean, you took an online course, so you're going to have to read some stuff online. So what I would suggest is probably click on the hyperlink so it's already here, and it's going to take you to that particular page, read through it. You don't necessarily have to do all the exercises because there's probably going to be exercises that pop up on the web page and in the actual textbook. You don't have to do those exercises. You can. It could just be extra practice for you. I'm not going to take them up for a grade or anything. I would probably focus on, if you're going to do any type of exercise, would be the grammar section when you get into the grammar aspect of the course, because we do have 4 or 5 grammar quizzes. I would focus on those for practice because everybody has some problems with their grammar. And it's stuff that you want to, iron out before you're writing final drafts, because you don't want to get, dinged on your first paper because you don't know how to fix a comma splice, or you don't know how to correct a misplaced modifier, or you have parallel problems in your 5th paragraph, but you don't know what the hell that means. So you want to look over that stuff. Down here, it shows and tells you how I want your essays to be formatted. They need to be formatted in the MLA 9 style. Microsoft Word. You should have an updated version of Microsoft Word on your laptop or desktop. You have a free version basically inside your Office 365 student email account. If you need help finding that or locating that, you can always go to a librarian, or I can show you where it's at if you're still having some issues. But you definitely want to follow this format. This is a sample paper. As we get closer to the works cited page and stuff, you're gonna, as it relates to research, you're gonna have a works cited page. It shows you how to do some in-text or parenthetical citations. You're not gonna have to do that too early on. But basically, you need to have a header, you need to have a running head, you need to have a paper title, not just paper 1 or narrative descriptive 1 or essay 1. It needs to be something kind of creative that relates to the essay that is to come. And then you need to double space everything. You need to indent your paragraphs by 1 tab. So a lot of this stuff, I mean, if you had English classes, obviously you've had these in high school. You should have learned about MLA style and how to use Microsoft Word. Again, if you need some help, you need to reach out. Otherwise, you don't want to lose very easy points that could have been, voidable because you don't have the right essay format. Let me back out of this, because again, I know my time is a little short here. The first reading deals with Scott Russell Sanders, Under the Influence. You want to read that. And you need to read it to be able not only to understand the first discussion that's going to be due on August 20th, which I believe is this Thursday by 6 o'clock, but also the essay assignment that's going to be due. And you can see here, there's information about essay 1. We have a peer review That's going to happen next week. The final essay is going to be due on the 31st. And then you also have a quiz that is going to be due on the 27th, quiz one. And I give you some information about what pages in your OER to study, 174 through 187. This is the Dropbox for your essay one. Again, you need to upload it as a Microsoft Word document, not a PDF, Microsoft Word document. It can't be, any kind of other program. If I can't download it and read it, then it's just going to get a 0. So you need to use the right program. It needs to be in the right format so you're not losing points. Again, if you need help, you need to reach out before the final draft is due. So that's pretty much, modular one. Again, I'll go through some of these a little bit more, maybe in detail as the week or maybe next week moves along. This particular, again, you want to read this particular creative essay. It's a really good professional example of a narrative descriptive. It's about 10 pages. So I wouldn't wait until the last minute because, again, you do have an assignment that's due Thursday by 6 p.m. Now, again, most of our deadlines are going to be due either within the working week, meaning Monday through Thursday by 6. Usually I have them kind of due, on a Thursday type deal, but sometimes they could be due on a Tuesday or a Monday. You want to check to make sure what your due date is. You can go to your calendar. It will tell you what your due date is. For the most part, the due dates are in stone, but things are subject to change if need be. If I do change a due date, it's going to be for the benefit of you and me. I will let you know in announcements, which will also go to your student email account. I won't add more, but I probably won't take anything away just because we have 15 weeks and we have enough to do. But definitely read through these assignments because, again, if you look at the first discussion, if it'll pull it up, you want to read through this, right? Because it goes back to that reading that you need to be reading for this week. You got 2 parts to it. Your initial post needs to be in 200 words. Again, you want to read this information as it relates to under the influence. And then you want to reply to at least one classmate. It only has to be one. You don't have to do 2 or more unless you want to, but just one. So your initial reply, 200 words, is going to be 50% of your grade. Your reply to your classmate, at least 100 words, is going to be the other 50%. So if you just post something and don't go back and reply, then the highest you can make is a 50. If you don't do anything, obviously you're going to get a 0. If you do post and it fits the criteria, 200 words and 100 words, for the initial post and a reply, and you answer the question to the best of your ability, don't have a lot of spelling or grammar errors, then you're going to get closer to that 100%. So you really got three options of grades here. 0 if you just don't do anything, 50% if you only do one, and closer to 100 if you do both and follow the instructions. Again, this is that sort of initial assignment that everybody really needs to do, because if you don't do a assignment by the deadline the first week, come Monday or Tuesday next, if nobody's submitted anything, then they're going to want me, they being the college, to mark you as a no-show and send that in. And once that happens, you get dropped from this course right then. So just logging in and looking at the syllabus and reading a couple things and looking at your grade, or looking at the grade book, seeing what's going to happen, is not enough. Counting as your attendance. You actually have to participate by turning in work on a weekly basis. So make sure that you're doing that. All right, so real quick, because I know I got a class coming up soon, but I wanted to show you sort of highlights of week 1. You can or modular 1, it deals with week 1, week 2, and week 3. You want to look at what the essay assignment is. Again, I may come back later in the week or at least next week to talk a little bit more about that as it relates to the peer review. But I believe the topic is pretty self-explanatory. As it relates to the textbook, this is your e-textbook. Right here. You also have an MLA 9 handbook. You want to probably look at that as it relates to essays, the formatting, especially as it gets to research papers, how to quote, paraphrase, and that type of stuff. Again, we'll talk a little bit about that as we get into the end of October and all of November. This is your textbook. You click on that. It will take you to your particular textbook. The deal is with the textbook, again, like I give you some page numbers. I would use the textbook, after you click on those hyperlinks if you still need additional information on that particular topic. Otherwise, I mean, you can do vice versa. You can use the textbook first, use those page numbers I provided, and then if you still needed, additional help, go to those hyperlinks that's next to your page numbers and your modulars. But the thing about the textbook that you have to be careful of is they're going to give you two page numbers. They're going to give you the page number up here in the PDF, and then they're also going to give you the page number. Well, this one isn't. There used to be a page number on the actual document, but I guess here they don't do that anymore. So you want to make sure that, let's see, you can go over here by chapters too, if that helps. Like if we're getting into the grammar section, chapter 5 is that. In the past, they used to have page numbers. They would have two page numbers. They would have this page number here and this page number here. So it may be best to try to, go by the chapters here since they don't have the page numbers, or you can kind of use if you type in page 9 here, it's going to take you to this particular page, but you might want to be careful. It may not be the exact page that you want to get to, but if you need help, again, let me know. Because it looks like they changed this stuff up on me a little bit. So the page numbers actually on the modular should still work, but they may be in a different order. But this is that free textbook. You don't have to buy a textbook. So anywhere that you can access Blackboard and have the internet, you will have your textbook. Now, let's go real quick to the syllabus. And again, I'm just going to kind of run through that. Just give you the high notes, but I'll show you where it's at. Click here. This is going to be up pretty much the entire semester, so you can always refer back to it if need be. And I'm just going to sort of pull it up and show you where it's at on my end, what it looks like. And then I'm just going to sort of talk about it. So as you can tell here, we're pretty much strictly 100% online. So we don't have a physical class location, except it is online. This is some of the prerequisites, co-requisites, and of course description. Again, I'm not going to read verbatim through this. My contact information is a little bit down further. You can go here, information on the instructor, but I go ahead. You can reach me via email at pwilson, that's a capital P, capital W, wilson@coastalpines.edu. I do have an office phone, 912-522-4508. If I'm not in the office, that means either I'm teaching a class, I'm traveling either to or from work. I could be assisting a student, via Teams tutoring or in-person tutoring, or I may be lecturing or covering some material from my other 3 online courses. But if you want to leave a message, you can. Just make sure that you leave a name, number, the course that you're in, so I can get back to you as quickly as I can. Probably the easiest way to reach me throughout the day, honestly, would be email. I will check that more times than I probably will the office phone, just because I'm here 10-hour days, and that's usually where most of students like to send information to me is via email. My physical office is located in room 1214 on the Camden campus. My classroom, if I'm not in the office, usually I probably will be in the classroom, will be 1216, so it's just a couple doors down. If not, you could probably find me downstairs, either in the bookstore or the library. The focus of this course explores the analysis of literature and societal humanity articles. So we're going to be reading some. Again, it's 50-50, 50% reading, 50% writing and grammar. Throughout the term, you will practice various writing modes, ranging from exposition to argumentation and persuasion, while refining proofreading, editing, and standard grammar usage and library research skills. So again, we kind of end with the standard 6 to 8 page research paper. You go through the proposal process, the annotated bid process, and again, we will talk a little bit as we move along to that. There will be other writings and other essays that we do, obviously. But make sure that you keep up with the due dates for everything. Because again, I don't accept late work. You can turn stuff in earlier because things are going to be open. Drop boxes are going to be open. You can always turn stuff in days earlier. I just can't accept assignments days late, especially since I got 5 other classes. And, I have stuff that's going to be coming in at various times, usually around the same time. So we're all adults here. I'm not going to hunt you down. Just know, like I said, you start racking up zeros, you get 3 of them, you're basically failing the course. If you get 2 of them, you're pretty much at a D. And for most folks, you need at least a C or higher, 7 or higher to move on in your program of study. So even if you're at a D, depending on how low that D is, you may want to think about withdrawing from the class before it gets too late. We talked about the OER, the Open Educational Resource Textbook. It's basically a free textbook. Meaning you don't have to buy anything. Which is good, saves you a little bit of money there. Proctor events, again, you're going to have to download that Respondus Lockdown browser and monitor. I showed you where you can find that information. You want to do that as soon as possible, especially before next week's grammar quiz, because you're going to need to have the Respondus program by then. Otherwise, you're going to start racking up zeros on these quizzes, and that's not going to be fun. And we kind of looked at sort of the course structure. Modular 1 will basically cover weeks 1 through 3. So it's narrative descriptive writing, focuses on personal narrative development, sensory language, and chronological sequencing. Modular 2 basically deals with weeks 3 through 5. Rhetorical modes of writing, focuses on specific organizational structures such as classification, process, definition, compare and contrast, or cause and effect. Modular 3 is basically weeks 6 through 9. This takes us basically up to midterm, which would basically be the 2-month mark in our semester. We deal with a rhetorical analysis, which focuses on critically analyzing text and constructing structured rhetorical evaluations. And then the remaining modulars, which are basically weeks 9 through the end of the semester, will deal with the research paper, its components, draft development, and final argumentation essays covered across the second half of the term. If you look through, again, probably later this week, I'm going to put some office hours and tutoring times. So you might want to go back and kind of check this toward the end of the week. They should be up there definitely by this time next week. I should have something up there, or at least I should have something emailed to you or put on the announcements so that you would know. Again, you definitely want to read through some of this. This is how your grade will be broken down and evaluated throughout our semester. So if you're worried about how you're being graded, so you're looking at paper 1, which is that descriptive narrative, which is going to be due on the 31st of August. It needs to be 3 pages or 750 words. This is at 12%. Paper 2, which should be due later in September, needs to be 4 pages or 1,000 words. That's your rhetorical analysis. That's 13%. Midterm, paper 3. We'll talk a little bit more about that rhetorical mode. That's 15%. And then your research paper, argumentative research paper, needs to at least be 6 pages, 1,500 words. That's 20%. So collectively, all 4 papers are going to be worth 60% of your grade. So it's a big chunk of your grade, meaning you can pass everything else that we talk about down below here. Really the low stake assignments that are 40% and still fail the class if you're not doing really well on your essays. So the research paper components, proposal, annotated bib, collectively, they're going to be 20%. Quizzes, peer reviews, 10%. Active participation, that means are you actively submitting work and stuff on time? That's going to be the other 10% there. So 60%, 40%, that's 100%. And you want to just kind of keep up, like I said here, with deadlines. Don't wait until the last minute. Complete that first week assignment. Stay up with the readings and the daily, weekly assignments. Email me if you have any questions. Don't wait until after I graded something to come back and say, well, I don't really understand why I made a 35 on it. Well, you had what, 3 or 4 weeks to work on it? You had 3 or 4 weeks did you get help from tutor.com? No. Did you schedule any kind of in-person or virtual tutoring time? No. Did you email me or call me? No. Well, I mean, if you needed help, you knew that you needed help probably the first couple of days in the semester or before actually tackling an assignment, but then you wait 20 days and then after I give you the grade, to come back and say, well, I didn't understand it. Well, I can't read minds. So, within the first couple hours or days or weeks of that assignment, you know that you're going to need help. So you might as well set some time aside and get the help that you need. Because again, like I tell all my classes, we offer this class annually. So we don't want you to fail. But if there's something by chance that you fail or you withdraw from this course or whatever the case may be, you can always take it again, in the spring or the summer or next fall. The deal is you have to pass this class, just like you have to pass the college algebra class, to one, get any kind of degree, associates or bachelor's, whether you take it through us, Georgia Southern, Emory, Harvard, you're going to have to take these same 2 classes and pass. So you might as well do your best and pass the first time around so you're not having to spend more money because tuition is going to start going up, it seems like, every year. Why take the same class and spend the same amount of money multiple times when you could have done it the first time around and got a decent grade if you just followed instructions and adhered to the deadlines? Ask for help when you need it. There's no shame in asking for help. Nobody else is paying for this class but you. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to keep forking out money for the same course over and over again. And we've had folks that, taken college algebra 5 or 6 different times. We've had folks take this class, 1101, 4 or 5 different times. I mean, if you go through the work in the process, you won't need to do it multiple times. Trust me. Academic dishonesty policy, you want to read about that. All submitted work must be original. Plagiarism, submitted work from other classes, or using AI, artificial intelligence tools to generate assignments is strictly prohibited. Your first offense will be a 0 on the assignment. We will have the proof. We check for plagiarism every time you upload a essay. There's a program that's built into the Dropbox called SafeAssign. If the paper is out there or if it's been turned in before, we will find it. If you get caught, again, we will have the proof. We will show it to you. You can escalate it if you want. We can go to the president, the vice president, but if I got the proof, they're going to pretty much go in my favor, and you're just going to get a 0 on that assignment. Same thing with AI generated work. We know there's a lot of free AI programs out there. We know there's a lot of paid AI programs out there. I will tell you this, AI works well if you use it, ethically and morally. It can help you brainstorm. It can help you, fix your grammar in your sentence. You can throw your essay in it after you wrote it yourself and, tell it to sort of review it, proofread it, give its opinion, but don't have it write the paper for you and you just copy and paste it. Because we do have AI checkers. I usually run my papers through a particular AI program that checks at least 10 of the main common paid and free versions. And if you used AI, it will flag it within the first, 10 seconds. I will have the proof. I will snapshot it. I will save it. I will show it to you. So if you use AI, eventually you will get caught. If you use AI or get caught cheating or plagiarizing a second time, no matter what your grade is, you will fail the class automatically. There will be additional paperwork that you and I will have to fill out, and then we will have to go to Waycross and meet with the vice president, the president, and a couple other people, my dean, and we go through a whole process where they're going to say, is Johnny cheating in his math class? Is Johnny cheating in his history class? Let's look and see what his grade is there. So now your whole academic career for that semester is under the microscope. And if they find any kind of cheating or AI usage in those classes, it's not going to be good to you, because basically what that meeting is for me to get the proof. Obviously, you will have your say, but if I got the proof again, how are you going to have your say if it's already there? Um, and they usually decide whether they suspend you for a semester, maybe two, maybe a year, maybe they just bar you from this college. Because they don't want to have somebody that's going to be cheating and using AI and passing on, other people's work for their own. And that stuff stays on your record, stays on your transcript. So you can go to other colleges, but because you have a transcript now at this particular college, you have a social security number. That stuff follows you, and the other colleges would be asking questions. So there's no way around it. Meaning it's just going to haunt you. So I would not do it. There's other ways around it. If you need help with an assignment, again, ask before it's due. Don't wait until the day it's due. Don't wait to 7 minutes before it's due. All the assignments I give you here, usually you have a good week or two, if not more, to work on them, ask for the help, get tutoring. You can go to the library maybe and get some help that way. But I mean, you have time to work on these if you use your time management wisely. If you wait till the last minute, then that's usually where I start seeing a lot of folks wanting to buy papers. That's another big one you want to be careful of. Don't give these companies your credit card or bank account information so they can ravage through your bank account and steal all your money and give you a crappy AI paper that they wrote. Because that's what they're doing, right? They're taking your, $50 or $100, and then they're just going to some AI program, just like you would have done. But instead, you don't want to go the AI route because you're saying, well, if I have an actual person write the paper, how would he know, right? Well, we know because a lot of these places, a lot of these paper sites that claim to have PhD and master level degree people working for them are actually folks that, live in China or live in Japan or live in Africa. And what they do is they take your money, they will give you a paper, but it's usually something that they went through and either bought themselves to, so now it's a recycled paper, or they go to an AI chatbot and tell them basically the same thing you just told them wrote, right? So they take your money and basically just give you the same AI paper you would have gotten for free. And then what happens is because you wait so late into the time to do it, oh no, I have 3 weeks to do it, but I can wait 2 hours before it's due and go through this program. You just copy and paste it. You don't proofread it. You don't look at it. You submit it, and then I run it through all these checkers, and it flags at 95% AI. So now you're out money because they're not going to refund you, because a lot of times these places, they shut down over a period of time. And now they have all your personal information or your parents' credit card or whatever the case may be. And now you're going to have to explain that big charge because they're probably going to come back in a couple weeks, whether you used them again or not, and they're going to hit you on another charge. So it's just not worth it. Plus, I mean, you'd have to explain to your, whoever's paying your college, whether it's parents or, you have to look, at your kids if you're trying to do the right thing and show them, hey, mommy and daddy's going back to school, but mommy and daddy got kicked out 5 weeks in because they cheated on a paper and they bought one online. I mean, what kind of example are you really showing at that point? So just be wary of that. We know it's out there. We know where to find it. We know how to catch people. Um, will I catch everybody? No, but I will catch some folks. All right, so I'm just going to let that be, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good one. Hold on just one second.